Hi everyone, welcome back to Trees and Turtles. My name is Imogen. In today's video, I am sharing how to know when it's time to change direction, okay, in terms of goals. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that, give this video a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram, and let's get started, okay? So I am a big advocate of not being afraid to essentially remove a goal from your rotation that you're working on, okay? I don't think of it as giving up. It's when you assess the kind of evidence and you assess your vision, your purpose, and you're looking at your goals and you're seeing that there's one that's not in alignment with that. Maybe it used to be, but it's not anymore because you've made the decision to change direction. It is okay, and it is actually productive to remove that goal because it's not serving your purposes anymore, okay? That is not giving up. Once you've actually thought it through and made an intentional decision, that is absolutely fine to do. So how do we actually think it through, and how do we make an intentional decision about these goals? Because sometimes when we've been working on a goal for a long time, we can get into the sunk cost fallacy and we think, oh, if I just do a bit more, I do a bit more, then it's all going to work out, and I've come this far, but it really doesn't feel right. So how do we know when it's time to change direction? Number one, it doesn't feel exciting anymore. Okay, hear me out. I'm not just saying as soon as you get bored, drop your goal. Absolutely not. But what I am saying is if over a long, sustained period of time, you're getting this feeling of just a lack of fulfillment, a lack of meaning, it just feels boring and it weighs you down and there's no excitement in the goal anymore. Like when you think about working on it or you think about getting to the end result, you just feel meh. You just feel like, who cares? Okay, you could achieve that goal tomorrow, and it wouldn't make you feel anything because you're not invested in it anymore, and it doesn't excite you anymore, and it doesn't fulfill you anymore, and you just feel like even if you got to the end, you wouldn't be happy. So if you've felt like that for a sustained period of time, I don't just mean you're working on it one afternoon and you get a bit bored. If you feel like that for a sustained period of time, we're talking weeks, months, maybe even a year, it depends on the goal, okay? It doesn't feel exciting and you've got this gut feeling that it doesn't feel right, it's okay to kind of do away with that goal, all right? Which leads me into my next point, and that is that it doesn't feel fulfilling. Now, I mentioned this briefly in the last point, but what do we mean by fulfilling? So when a goal isn't fulfilling, it's not just that we don't feel a sense of excitement about it, it's that it doesn't align with who we are as people. So this is very individual, so I'm not going to be too specific here because I want you to take this and apply it to your own life. But when you and fulfillment can be very individual, okay? So when you're working on a goal and you feel that you're really making progress towards the kind of person that you want to be, and this goal is supporting you to make progress towards this kind of person that you want to be, and you find that it's positive for your personal development, and you feel like you're learning something, you're contributing something, you're growing as a person, that's fulfillment. If you don't feel it with a goal over a sustained period of time, if it's not fulfilling you and you're questioning why you're even working on it, then it's entirely valid to get rid of it, okay? It's entirely valid to stop working on a goal if you don't feel that sense of fulfillment. Not just excitement, but also fulfillment. Both are important because one is an emotional reaction and the other is more of they're both emotional reactions, but I think fulfillment is more a sort of a serious and a long-term, almost psychological reaction, or a psychological feeling rather than more of an emotional one. Fulfillment feels broader and deeper. I don't know, do you get me? Kind of. All right, this is also linked very cleverly to my third point, which is that when a goal is not helping your overall vision, it's okay to drop it. So what do I mean by overall vision? When I say overall vision, I mean your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, your life purpose. What is your life purpose? If that feels like a scary question to answer, it doesn't have to be. Don't worry, I have covered this in my other videos and it's actually very simple to determine. I mean, yes, obviously it's a hugely individual process and it can be complicated, it can have a lot of moving parts, but at its core, it can actually be quite simple to determine. So if you want to know how to kind of build your life vision, discover your purpose, whatever, check out my other videos on that. But if a goal is not helping your overall vision and it's not contributing meaningfully to you becoming the person that you want to be, and you can't see concretely where it fits into your overall plan, even if you've been through all of your goals and you have a purpose and you have a vision that you're really working towards, and say, I don't know, you want to get really good at your career in finance, or you have a particular, I don't know, you're really passionate about sports and you want to start a sports channel and you really want to be known for like talking about like sports commentary or something. I don't know. Those two things are things that I don't know a great deal about. But if it's not helping your overall vision, it's not helping you progress towards where you want to be, then it's completely okay to say, you know what, look, this doesn't fit. And I've actually looked at the vision and I've actually sort of looked at each of the goals, and this one is kind of the odd one out, like it's not helping. So it's okay to get rid of it. And that process can actually help you feel a sense of peace about the decision, because it's unlike the sort of like the gut feeling and it doesn't feel exciting, it doesn't feel fulfilling. Those things are valid, but sometimes we have trouble listening to our gut feelings. And if you want to learn how to listen to your gut feelings more, I also made a video on that. Lucky you, so go check that out. But yes, sometimes we feel like we need to have a logical basis for our decisions, and that's okay. Like I do operate on that some of the time. You know, I'm trying to listen to my intuition more, but sometimes you just need logic. So it's okay to go through that process of determining your overall vision and saying, this goal's the odd one out, therefore we get rid of it. And you can definitely get more of a sense of peace with that. Okay, the next way to know when it's time to change direction is that your goal's just making you miserable, okay? Now, I know I've talked about, oh, you don't feel fulfilled, you don't feel excited, but this one's worse, okay? This one's actively making you miserable. Every time you get up to work on your goal, you're like, no, just like, no. And it just gives you this sort of like visceral reaction of like, oh God, not this again. Okay, so that is a big red flag. Okay, if you are working on a goal and every time it's like, oh God, not this again, you need to take a long, like a decent look at that. Okay, because if it's making you miserable, that is a huge like warning sign, like alarm bells going off. Okay, especially if it's making you miserable over a sustained period of time, because that is one of the biggest indicators. Okay, you can't live it's okay sometimes to be miserable for a little bit in the pursuit of a goal that makes you ultimately very happy, but if it's like really sustained and ultimately like the juice is not worth the squeeze, as it were, then like it's completely okay to be like, you know what, this is not for me. And there is no shame in that. There literally is no shame in that. Especially if the end goal is also making you miserable. It's just like, I'm going through something that I don't like to get to a place where I don't want to be. Literally, what's the point? Okay, so if it's making you miserable, huge red flag, and that's absolutely a good reason to change direction, especially if it's over a sustained period of time. And finally, this point is so important, please don't ignore it, because take it from someone who's ignored this and it's really harmed my mental health and harmed my productivity. You're burned out. Okay, now I've made whole other videos about burnout, so if you want to know how to determine whether you're burned out, check those out. But generally it's about, you know, a sense of like apathy about your goals. You just kind of don't care anymore. You want to do something but you just don't have the energy. You've got brain fog. All of these things can be like huge indicators of burnout, and you've worked too hard on a goal and you're just completely burned out. Now, sometimes this can be fixed if it's a goal that you're really invested in. Like when I was getting my degree at Durham, I was burned out like pretty much every summer holiday, and I spent like a lot of the summer just chilling, because I mean, yeah, obviously, like, I worked and I had internships and stuff, but it wasn't as academically intense, so my brain was chilling. But yeah, I was like really burned out, but I accepted that burnout, and I did try to improve it using self-care and so forth, but I accepted that burnout because I was so passionate about the subject and I really wanted to get my degree, and I did, and it was fantastic. So that could be valid. But if you're burned out and the idea of like the end result just seems like completely not worth it, like to me that was worth it, but it's an individual judgment. Okay, so if you feel like it's not worth it and you're burned out, like you're exhibiting the signs of burnout, and maybe you've taken a break and the idea of getting back to it just seems like completely insurmountable, then it's completely fine to just go, you know what, we have found out that this isn't for us. Okay, like you found out that isn't for you, I found out this isn't for me. Okay, so burnout can be just a temporary thing, or it can be a sign that you need to change direction. All right, that's how to know when it's time to change direction on a goal. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that. Give this video a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram. I'll see you in the next video. Okay,